Alrighty, hosses, welcome back, and in this video we got a bunch of crap to cover. We are going to be going over how to convert SCSS to CSS, which is useful for just about everyone, and I also am going to show you guys how to use plugins and how to chain a bunch of commands together. It's going to be incredible, but first I want to take a second and thank headtalker.com for pledging $5 to my Patreon. Thank you so much. And also, 2 people pledged $15 and they also got a t-shirt because of it. So whoever you are out there, I am mailing you your t-shirts tomorrow, so be expecting those in the mail. But anyways, thank you guys, I love you, and these tutorials are for you. All right, so the first thing I want to show you guys is how to take SCSS and convert it to CSS, something you guys probably do all the time. So I'm just going to make a new file, and again, this is in my app SCSS directory. So I'm going to make a new file, and I'm just going to name it styles.scss. Now, if you guys don't know what SCSS is, it's basically this, it's kind of a goofy version of CSS, but you can do really awesome things with it, like use variables and use like math equations. And it's basically a way that you can like program CSS. It's awesome. I have a whole other tutorial series about it. If you don't know it, check it out. But for now, let me just go ahead and do something simple just to demonstrate. So let's say I was working on this website and I had this class called Fatty, and whatever element I applied this to, its width was some percentage, and the percentage was 6/7. Now, of course, this is not valid CSS. This is weird SCSS, so before we can actually use this on our website, we need to convert this to CSS. So how do we do that? Well, the first thing that we need to do is we need to install a plugin. So remember way back in the very first tutorial, I said that the reason that Gulp is kind of hard to explain to a beginner is because it doesn't just do one thing. It's kind of like a Swiss Army knife. In other words, it's a bunch of tools in one. So whenever we need one of these tools, we actually need to download it, and a tool is just called a plugin. So basically, whenever I say tool, I just mean plugin, yada yada. So how do we get these plugins? Well, what we can do is this. Go ahead and open up your command line, or if you're using WebStorm, you can just use the terminal right there. But you know, this text is kind of small, so I'm going to use PowerShell. All right, so whenever you need a plugin, just type npm install, just like before, and the plugins usually are always preceded with the word Gulp and then the plugin name. Now, I know that the tool to convert SCSS to CSS is called Sass. And by the way, I can't just go over all the plugins because there are literally thousands of them. Basically anything that you could possibly imagine you would want to do during your development process, someone already wrote a plugin for it. So there's a huge database online if you want to go check them all out. But I'll show you guys some of the more common ones. So I know that this is called Gulp Sass. And again, whenever someone's working on this website, they need to have this tool. So I want to go ahead and write -- save -dev. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter and let it do its thing. And again, oh, you didn't add a description, you didn't add a professional readme file, shut up, I didn't have time for that, grunt. All right, so let it do its little thing, and there you go. So after about 20 seconds or so, check out what happened. First of all, we now have another plugin, another tool, Gulp -Sass. So anytime you install something and you just want to verify that you have it installed, just go ahead and look at your node modules. Boom, there you go. And also, if you go ahead and look at package.json, you see that you have another dependency. So again, that means, hey, whenever you're working on this project, if you just downloaded the source code for the first time, make sure that you install Gulp and also Gulp Sass. So there you go. So now we have this tool downloaded, and look at this. We have this SCSS file, but how do we actually use this tool? Well, it's really easy. You guys can probably actually figure out most of it. So back in your gulp file.js, you also need to require what you just downloaded. Because we already required Gulp, you need to do the exact same thing with Gulp -Sass. So I'm just going to make a variable called Sass and you just write require, and that is gulp minus sass. So whatever the name of this directory is, that's what you write right there. And now we pretty much just imported all of that. Now I'm just going to overwrite this because we really don't need a task called bacon for everything. So I'm going to set this up to pretty much, I'm going to name it sass because might as well just stick with the variable name. And what this is going to do is, instead of printing out, wow, bacon is so juicy, it's going to do this. So let's think about this for a second, exactly what we're going to do before we just start writing code. What we're going to do is we're going to look at this file, which is app SCSS styles.scss. And then with this file, we're going to go ahead and convert it to CSS. So that's what the tool is going to do. That's what we just downloaded. Now, once we have a CSS file, we're going to need to say where we want it saved, or the final location of it, the destination. So I'm just going to save it in this directory right here. So again, whenever I'm developing, I'm going to have a bunch of SCSS files here, and I'm going to convert them to CSS and stick them in this directory. So how do we tell Gulp to do that? Well, what we do is we can do something like this. It's a very cool trick. I'm just going to return gulp.source, and what you can do is you can use something called piping, and whenever you see the word pipe, it pretty much just means chain something together. So the first thing is get the source, or the file that I tell you to, and that's just this file right here. So the source is app SCSS styles SCSS. So all we're doing right here is we're saying, hey, go ahead and get this file. So that's that. Now you can actually just go ahead and write all of these commands on the same line, but what people usually do is anytime they pipe something, they write it on a new line, and this is just for readability. So what I want to do after I got that file is I want to take the results of that and I want to pass it through sass. So this is basically the tool that we just downloaded, and what it's going to do is it's going to take this and convert it to CSS. So now we have a bunch of CSS, but we still need to say, okay, where do we want to save that file? What do we want the file to be named? So on and so forth. So I'm going to pipe it, or take the results of that, and I'm going to write gulp. The destination, what the heck is this? Get out of here, bookmarks. I want you. The destination is app/CSS. So again, whatever this file name is, you see how it styles that SCSS? It's just going to be renamed the same thing without this first S. So it's going to convert it to CSS and put it in this parent directory and name it styles.CSS. That's all it's going to do. So let me go ahead and in PowerShell, let me clear out of here. If you guys remember how to use this, remember you always write gulp, which is going to look in this file, and then you write the name of the task, which is sass. So just write gulp sass and let it do its thing. Dun dun dun. Took 25 milliseconds. How awesome is that? And now you can see in our CSS directory, we have proper formatted CSS. So again, this is the SCSS. This is what you or your developers are going to write. And then once it has that source, that original file, it's going to go ahead and take those results and convert it to CSS. And then it's going to say, okay, what do you want me to, what's my ending destination? Where should this go? Well, here it is right there. So again, we got the source, sent it through the plugin, and we outputted the results to the destination file, looking good. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.